Hello, this is Daniel Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide. In my last video on the base building presentation at this year's Citizencon, I talked about the human side of base building and how they hadn't included support for the processes that would allow large orgs to collaboratively create large bases that were efficient, functional, and defensible. In this video, I'm going to talk on the more technical thing that was not included. And interestingly, it was mentioned by Todd Pappy a year earlier, or at least hinted at. And that was the issue of sharding.
Now, there's some cross-shard and server meshing considerations that will kind of adjust this design in the future, but we'll get into that later once we're really building it.
Well, it's a year later, they really are building it, and we hear nothing about sharding. That's worrisome. Now, every time I bring up sharding issues in a video, somebody replies, well, they've said that their goal is to have one global shard, so that will solve any sharding issues. So let me talk about that. In the land of the magical unicorns, data packets zoom around the globe at several times the speed of light, and complex data systems presents infinite scalability with no reduced performance. Thus, in the land of the magical unicorn, the single shard is not only possible, but easy. Outside the land of the magical unicorns, however, data packets are limited by the speed of light and pathing considerations, and the replication layer struggles to meet even a 20th of the capacity that it would need to support even just continental shards at peak times. But if you, or the gameplay systems teams at CIG, are expecting that you don't have to consider sharding issues because the network services team will be able to bail you out with single global shard, then you are living in the land of the magical unicorns. When I first started talking about shards in late 2021 and early 2022, I needed to come up with a terminology to describe the issues that I was talking about. So one of them I came up with was the Vegas shard rule. What happens in the Vegas shard stays in the Vegas shard. In other words, if you have things stored in your personal hangars or saved in your personal inventories or carried on your body, it will travel with you from one shard to another. But if you drop some gun on the ground out in the wild, it will still be on and only on the ground in that shard. That is the way our shards work now. But base building presents a set of challenges to the Vegas shard rule because our base is literally something that we have left out in the wild, and yet it contains, for example, the personal and hangar storages that we expect to travel with us under the current Vegas shard system. If the hangar travels with us but the base doesn't, what actually is the hangar in? And then we have the fact that this may be a shared base. Let's say there are 10 people in my org. We have all together worked hard and built a base on shard 10. But now, for reasons that we might not even be aware of, 5 of us are now on shard 20. Do the 5 of us on shard 20 see anything where we spent all that work to build our base? If we do see something, can we fire up the extractors and be able to be pulling twice the rate of materials? Do we even have a land claim on shard 20? If we have bases on shards 10 and 20, where we have players, what do we have on shard 30, 40, 50, etc., where none of us have visited yet? Is there a base on shard 30 ready for our eventual someday arrival? If so, can that base be raided? Can I arrive on shard 30 and find our base ruined without ever knowing it was being attacked? Or can we see our bases on shards 10 and 20 being demolished without even knowing where the real attack is happening? Yeah, Todd Pappy was right when he said there was sharding and server meshing issues with base building. Now, as I've often said, I am not CIG, and I have no knowledge of what discussions are going on there. This is my analysis of the best way to resolve these issues. Sometimes, like with the Vegas shard rule, they independently come up with the same conclusions I am. Other times, like with regeneration, they don't. I put forward these ideas as a way of advancing the conversation outside of CIG and possibly even getting it inside of CIG, even though I have no way of knowing whether I am. And I'm going to start with how this will work on high-sec planets and moons. CIG could use this same system on high, medium, and low-sec systems. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. But I have the feeling that the players, when I listen to them on mid-sec and null-sec systems, want to have them have more of an edge to them. So I'm going to have that reflect in how they handle sharding. Now I'm going to come up with a new term, This is what I call the Highlander rule.
There can be only one.
In other words, when you build a base, you get the ability to use its extractors on one shard, and you have to defend it on that same one shard. However, it does appear on the other shards. So if I log out on shard 10 and log in on shard 20, there's at least a place where my hab, hangar, and ship can still have a place to be. And if my org wants to change our locus of operations from shard 10 to 20, we can. The way this works is that bases have two states, active and mothballed. The Highlander rule is implemented by saying that only one shard's base can be active. All the others must be in a mothballed state, and the currently active base has to be mothballed in order to activate any other shard's base. So let's talk about what is possible at that mothballed base. Your personal hangar, including bed logout, your personal ship storage, and your personal inventory. I also decided to make an exception that the shop kiosk is available on mothballed bases, since who doesn't want to have the maximum possible number of players to sell to? Everything else, shared hangars, construction, extraction, refining, defensive turret, physical shops, etc., is deactivated and cannot be activated unless the base is mothballed at its prior shard and activated here. And the org will be unlikely to give the rights to do that to just any member. So, can a mothballed base be attacked? Yes, but the damage is superficial only. When the base is later activated, its state will be restored to the state of the prior base was when it was mothballed. Mothballed, in this case, essentially saving the state to the global identity graph. Can you awaken a mothballed base and find that your hangar exit has been camped by others? Yes, but you can then call for help either from authorities or allies. In order for this system of active and mothballed versions on the same shard to work, the land claim itself must be global, and that a land claim on one shard is claimed across all shards. So this system that I've outlined for high-sec systems could work for mid- and low-sec systems too. There is nothing to say that it couldn't. As I said earlier, what I've gleaned from prior discussions is that many players want the mid- and low-sec areas to be less structured, or at least to have less structured opportunities available. So moving on to mid-sec systems, and bear in mind that the gang control planets of Pyro are mid-sec, not null-sec. Just listen to Todd Pappy's description of mid-security systems.
You've got low security. So again, you must purchase the land. It's owned by an independent corp, gang, or faction.
Remember that the designation of high, medium, and null-sec does not have to be to the whole star system. It can be planet by planet or even moon by moon. Midsec introduces a second type of outpost, which I call wildcatting. This is building on an area without a land claim, possibly because you don't want to bother with a claim or because you don't have enough rep with the local authorities. Wildcatting presumes a get in, grab some resources, salvage you can from your gear, and then get out before anybody notices. If you log out at your Wildcat outpost and can't return to the same shard, or the base has already been torn down by your org, you wake up at your regen point or home city. Wildcatting on mid-sec systems has an additional risk. If somebody does claim the land that you were wildcatting on, well, your stuff is now their stuff. And of course, Wildcat bases get no protection from the local authorities if your base is raided, since technically from their standpoint, you don't exist. Which brings us now to the genuinely null-sec systems. Since there's no authority to register land claims or provide protection, my presumption is that all development on null-sec systems is wildcatting and thus shard-locked. Honestly, I don't see many orgs wanting to set up large long-term outposts in null-sec systems because of the burden of having to defend them from raids 24/7 across all time zones is going to be wearying. Which brings me, as a final aside, to the Org Shields contest part of the presentation. If I understand it correctly, and I'm not sure that I do, it was part of the presentation that really could have used some more diagrams and a talk-through example, then I'm a bit skeptical about it. It seems to be rewarding the mega organization that can dominate a location 24/7 for a week, protecting, therefore, the one organization that least needs it. I dislike mechanics that push players towards orgs that are large simply for the size sake, and my impression is that this shield competition does exactly that. Now for an update on our ship giveaways. We have the Raise Captains giveaway for a pair of VKB Space Combat Edition joysticks, plus our regular Grow the Channel ship giveaways for the Zippy Zazzy Zaftig Zephyr, the Zeus 2 CLA, now in the game and for which we are just so close to the subscriber goal. And then beyond that, the 20,000 subscribers reward for the winner's choice of the marvelous multi-role mining meta, the Arasta, or the Banu Big Box Bargain Bazaar, the Merchantman. One entry per video, be a member for automatic entry, or subscribe and comment, some including the secret word. And the secret word for this video is my name for the rule about there being only one. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Daniel Raymond for Ray's Guide.